This is Vida Schmidt live from Berlin studio. You're all welcome to today's CC webinar live executive interview. Today, my special guest is Enrico Maria Bagnasco, Chief Executive Officer at Sparkle. Hi, Enrico. It's good to see you again.
Good morning, Vilda.
We are very pleased and honored on the fourth year in a row to continue this exclusive series of interviews with a top executive at Sparkle. And I cannot wait to hear all the latest updates and happenings you have to share with us today. But before we start, Enrico, though, I would like to take this special opportunity to congratulate you on your appointment as the Chief Executive Officer of Sparkle late last year. You must be thrilled.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I have. I am, and of course, very happy about this. You know, one of my favorite lines in my meetings recently is that having been the CTO for the company for the last 3 years, I find myself in the position that I cannot blame anyone for whatever I found in the company, because most of it I'm responsible for. But besides the joke, yes, it's been a very interesting 6 months, very energizing, absolutely.
Once again, congratulations. Let's begin, Enrico. Yeah. And I see few news recently from Sparkle about new collaborations, launches. So today, please tell us about the latest happenings at Sparkle.
Yeah, I'm very happy to do so. I will start by saying that a couple of years ago, we started a very heavy investment plan with a number of projects related to new submarine cable expansion in our and revamping renewal of our transmission network, a number of databases to be data centers to be built. And what's happening now that 2 years down the road, we are finally start collecting the results of such massive work. Not all of them, but they are coming together. Another of my favorite lines is we've chosen the worst 2-3 years of the last century to enroll in a heavy investment plan, because with all the situation around the globe, COVID, the war, the inflation, the high cost, the logistic, manufacturing of equipment going crazy in the last few years, building stuff, building infrastructure, building data center and networks has been even more difficult than normally. But we are coming through, and there are a number of projects coming through, and all the announcements you've seen in the last few months are all of them steps along the way of the completion of the plan. If we date back to months ago, you may have seen the announcement of our new data center in Athens about 1.5 years ago, 1.5 years ago, and then the opening of a data center in Tel Aviv. Then, of course, all the announcements around Blue Raman. We finally, the cable is in the water, in particular, the first segment between Milano, Genova, and Palermo is being completed 10 days ago. We are now completing the commissioning test and all that, and we will open the service, the commercial service on this first segment July, so in a month's time. That is a big achievement for the consortium who's building Blue Raman, for us as well, of course, in particular. And it gives us a lot of confidence on what's happening next around Blue Raman, both in terms of project deployment, and also very much in terms of commercial exploitation. Because again, if you go back to the last 2-3 weeks, 2 key announcements have been made about commercial achievements around Blue Raman, the Mediterranean segments of the Blue Raman. But not only, you've seen the announcement about the virtual fiber sold to Kush investment. And recently also the announcement of the MOU we signed with Libya, which is now being finalized in a contract in the next few weeks. So yes, as I said, it's the time where a lot of efforts, hidden effort, is becoming visible in terms of results, usable results.
Thank you for these updates, Enrico. These ventures sounds very promising for Sparkle, and I do recall 2 years ago we had an interview together, and you mentioned about Blue Raman as well, and also it's nice to see that despite the huge challenges, still Sparkle continue to be successful in all these launches and implementations. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Moving on, how are you seeing the new market situations and fast digital transformation continuing to impact Sparkle businesses? And what are the great new challenges and opportunities to meet clients' demands?
If I look at the overall landscape, I see a number of driving forces, very visible. On one hand, you see a confirmation about the constant need for more and more bandwidth. So the growth in terms of volume, that is being confirmed. But not only that, there is also a greater need for more resilient solutions. So diversification, not just growth, like more capacity, but also diversified capacity, which means diversified routes and alternative options to build your capacity. And I link that to the fact that the services that are running on top of our network are more and more vital to the industry, vital to the consumer applications. So not just performance and speed is relevant, but reliability is relevant, because if the service is vital, then you need to assure as much as possible 100% of availability. Which is a good sign, because we not only grow, have like a volumetric muscular growth in the network, but we need more intelligence, we have protection, we need to find new routes. And by the way, Blue Raman is not just another cable linking Europe to Middle East and Far East, but it's also a cable implementing a new route, which is probably the key aspect among just the performance and the speed. So that is a very visible sign. Another visible sign is that all large customers, and maybe OTT more than others, are becoming, how can I say, more cautious about infrastructure investment. Mm-hmm. So we've seen a change of approach from in a way, a much faster decision-making process to build up new infrastructure for the future, to a more, let me say, business-oriented approach, whereby decisions are made after more careful evaluation. In any case, after a longer decision process. We've seen the decision making about, in particular, about buying large infrastructure chunks or very high capacity links taking a longer decision-making process, which is, I believe, a reflection of the fact that everyone, even the OTTs, let me say, now have to become more business-wise, because the market is becoming more competitive. So everyone has to be very precise on not just the investment itself, but the correct timing for the investment. So to invest at the time when is actually needed and not maybe months in advance, which is good to do if you want to, be relaxed, but it can be quite expensive, of course, if you invest before the actual need. So the decision-making process of our large customer is taking longer, which is, of course, reflecting on our business that is more diluted over time and distributed over time. We understand, but we need to take care of that. So things that we would plan for like 2-3 months in advance are now taking maybe 6 months. Okay, that's another very visible, let me say, aspect in the market. And then on top of that, in particular in some regions, but in many regions, I see an ever-increasing geopolitical complexity, which means that not to sell service or not to sell capacity over existing infrastructure, but when you want to build and develop new infrastructure, then geopolitical complexity is probably the most relevant and the most difficult, let me say, issue to tackle. Because in some cases, it's not a matter of money or pressure, it's more a matter of diplomacy and understanding and, soft power approach, let me say, not a matter of pressing a vendor to do faster what he has to do, but it's really more a matter of diplomacy. And there are many regions in the world where geopolitical issues are growing due to tension, to the war, to the many things we read in the newspapers. So whenever you want to build a new infrastructure, you have to be carefully evaluate those implications, because you may have the money ready, you may have the vendor ready, but if you don't have the permits or other issues, then things become complicated. So on one hand, this is the good part of the business, because it means you have to be, you really have to have an holistic approach to the business. It's not a matter of just technical, just business, just economics. You really have to address the business of building new digital infrastructure in a very holistic approach, which is a very interesting, let me say, challenge for our brain.
Very interesting, Enrico. I do agree we are living in a challenging world, and I see also that you're sharing some new trends and updates on major challenges that the company also has to tackle. So thank you so much again for sharing this. Let's move ahead and look into the future. Please allow me to recall our conversation also, I think, in my last interview with Daniele. He mentioned that the company, the Sparkle focus remains to serve multinationals with complex connectivity solutions. And now I hear that diversification is important for the company, and resilience and etc. He also mentioned that the secured, sophisticated networks to deploy. And also last year you mentioned, I think at the event as the CCTIS summit in Rome, that the bandwidth demand is doubling. So that comes on top. So if we look ahead, what is now the company focus in the coming years? Are these still the main focus, or companies focusing on new areas? And perhaps you can share with us if there are any new investment plans also.
I think, well, the landscape is pretty, let me say, stable on, what were our priorities 12 months ago still remain. Actually, they're even more visible now. So maybe 12 months ago were just suggestions or ideas. Now they are very visible in the market, meaning that on top of the basic connectivity needs, it can be capacity, it can be IP backbones, or it can be mobile connectivity. So on top of that, which remains the bread and butter of the business, there are additional requirements. You mentioned security. By definition, security is now a regular component of our offer, okay? And we just decided very recently to make it a regular part of our IP business to carriers and to enterprises, of course. To enterprises even more with the sophisticated solution that are linked to the SaaS specifications and products on top of SD-WAN. So it's like we are moving one step, we're climbing the ladder of services one step at a time: infrastructure, then connectivity, then networking, then virtual networking with SD-WAN, then virtual networking with security, so SaaS plus SD-WAN. So this is a very clear trend. The other very clear trend we see and we like and we push is the carrier-to-carrier automatic exchange of business. So API-based provisioning, API-based activation of services, API-based billing reconciliations or billing implementations. So anything that calls to carrier automation is truly necessary. It's not just, let me say, as an academic approach to just be more automatic. It's part of the business, because the business, the volumes, the quantity of transaction, and the pressure on cost calls for automation. Not just the pressure on cost, also the pressure on be more precise, having less, let me say, litigation and rearranging of numbers. The more you touch the numbers with your hands, the more you will prepare yourself for future, let me say, need for reconciliation of numbers. So the more you digitize the process, the less you touch the numbers, the more it becomes let me say, a stable number, and I call this for whatever is a contract date, what is a volume, whatever is the value of the contract. Okay, so certified data and automation are a key to the future of this industry. Not just this industry, but I'm sure. So, certified data and automation is another very, very, very clear trend. And we talked about reliability. So being able to offer an alternative to existing route or an alternative to someone else's existing route for the end customer is becoming very important.
Sounds like Sparkle is facing an exciting road ahead with you on the helm, Enrico. Okay, before we go, I would like to ask if there's anything else you would like to add. I'm personally looking very much forward to meeting you in person next week at the Europe GCCM in Berlin, but also in a couple of months' time in September at our CTIS 23 summit in Rome.
Absolutely so, for both cases. And, we're very excited for what's coming up. Maybe last comment is very relevant. We didn't touch about it, but it's at the end the essence of all we do, and of course that is the people. Okay, people and competence. We didn't mention it, but it's so essential and crucial. No, it's obvious what I say, but I don't mean to say it as an obvious statement. And we see this again with the pressure we have to become leaner, to become smarter. It's like a double challenge. You need to run the company with less people, but with smarter people. It's like a double challenge. And again, it's very interesting because there are smart people around, plenty, not easy to catch, not easy to keep, because everybody wants a few very smart people and not plenty of not so. So again, that's another challenge for our brain, for our spirit, let me say, of team building and company building and having common objective where everybody can recognize their contribution. So indeed, people and knowledge is at the end the very heart of what we need.
Thank you very much for addressing this last very important point, people. So it's, I'm thrilled to hear all what you have shared with me and with us today. I would like to, and of course, we will continue our discussion in Berlin and in Rome as well. And we're hoping that you will meet the partners also in Berlin and in Rome.
Will do.
But thank you very much, Enrico, for doing this exclusive interview and being my special guest today again. And to everyone watching this CC Executive interview live with Enrico Maria Bagnasco, Chief Executive Officer at Sparkle, thank you very much for tuning in once again. Goodbye, everyone. Until next time.
Bye. Thank you.